There's an unspoken rule amongst YouTube creators that inevitably, whatever videos you hate most, that you put the least effort into, are going to be your most popular. And whichever videos you love the most or mean the most to you personally are inevitably just not going to do as well. And this is kind of true in many respects. I've definitely found that many of my personal favorite projects have gone a little bit under the radar comparatively. That's fine, but that is why we are here doing something a little bit different, going through some of my most popular videos and why I hate them with a tier list. Because people freaking love tier lists, don't they? So we've got 5 ranks, with the bottom being kill it with fire, and then if they're so bad, kill it with fire, then kill me. And before we get started, I would love for you to tell me which videos meant the most to you that I've made, or which ones keyed you into the channel, or that you like the most. Where do you come from, you know? Tell me down below in the comments. So we're gonna start with my hello Momo. Momo would apparently like to join us as we rank these videos. So Number one, we're going to start with my most popular video, which is actually an exception to what I was talking about before. It's the Psychology of Azula video. Now, I actually quite like this video still. It's one of those rare occasions where I put a lot of effort into something, and it actually paid off, you know? It's still a pretty solid video. It moved a lot of people. I really like it, and I was very proud of it in the end. When I first edited it, I edited over 3 days, and I think I had about 3 to 4 hours sleep each night because I was determined to hit my weekly deadline. So, I'm actually going to put it in S tier, despite the fact that it has since come out that I got a couple of things wrong in my studies. I did consult with people who knew psychology a lot better than I did, but I didn't happen to pick it up. Turns out, I got a bit mixed up in the definitions of sociopath and psychopath. It doesn't derail the whole video, but it's still irritating because it's one of those things that I'm going to keep getting comments on. Now, secondly, let's go with, is Toothless a Titan wing? Ooh, okay, so, if you didn't know, I used to do How to Train Your Dragon videos. Yeah, you know that old series? Yeah, I used to do videos on that. Because it was something I was mildly interested in, and it happened to take off, and there was an audience waiting for videos like that. And, it worked.
Hey, Sub-Furies. At the end of the second movie, Toothless faces down against Drago's...
Hey, Sub-Furies. Yeah, so, I used to start off my videos with a phrase, "Hey, Sub-Furies," because one time someone sent me an email, and it was a very nice email from Youngo, and she said, "Your Sub-Fury," in brackets, subscriber Night Fury, her name. And I was like, oh, that's a perfect name, because I was looking for a name to call the people in my audience, and this was their subscribers, and their Night Furies, that's their favorite dragon. Who doesn't want to be a dragon? So I was gonna call you all Sub-Furies. Brilliant. I'm a genius. And inevitably, because these things happen, my audience expanded. And suddenly, people who didn't know what Night Furies were, they thought I was saying, "Hey, submissive furry." And I didn't know what to do, because I was like, I can't stop calling them that. But also, I don't want to lose that, but also I can't call them submissive furries. Man, I look so young. I look so childish here. Wow. Yeah. And not only that, like, all of my old videos made me cringe because of this. I was incapable of being on camera. I did not know how to be on camera. I was not comfortable with it. I did not feel at home. And you can tell. Let's just play a bit of the video.
Wildebeest. He breaks out of his cage of ice, his nostrils flaring and glowing, and he challenges its position as the alpha of all dragons. Yeah. The dragons all swoop around to...
So that happened. Naturally, I'm gonna stick that and kill it with fire. It's not the worst. It is not the worst. Next up, would you believe that my fastest growing video ever was not about writing, was not about world building, was not about Avatar, was not about Lord of the Rings. It was Marvel. This has always been a sore point for me. I took part in this event called One Marvelous Scene when Avengers Endgame or Infinity War dropped. And I made a video about Iron Man and mental illness. And it was a pretty low effort video. I didn't think that much about it. But it got like 700,000 views in the space of a couple of days, which is easily the fastest growing video I have ever had. And I kinda hate it. I kinda hate that. I'm like, it's a part of my channel's history, and I can't change it. And it's really funny because I was taking part of it amongst a whole bunch of other comic book focused, superhero focused channels led by Nando V Movies, and it was the fastest growing video out of the entire list. And I feel like I don't deserve that. I did not deserve that. And the whole reason was because I happened to call the video I Am Iron Man. And you know what happens at the end of Avengers Endgame? That's right. Yeah, so I kind of hate this. It's not a terrible video, but it is very low effort. I don't think it looks very good. I don't think the script is that good. I don't think it's particularly profound. I felt it was pretty ham-fisted together, so I'm going to do another Kill It With Fire. Okay, what everyone gets wrong about bending. This was an Avatar video where I discussed, basically, people get really caught up on, you know, is plant bending a thing? Is wood bending a thing? Can an airbender control sound? Because, you know, it's all about traveling through the air and whatever. And I always hated those questions because the elements are psycho-spiritual, you know, they're philosophical. Water doesn't heal because healing is, you know, because water naturally heals, because it's a material, molecular part of of water. It heals because spiritually and philosophically we've always associated water with health and healing. And there's a lot of links to things like Reiki and stuff like that. So I actually do really like this video, and I'm glad that it's one of my most popular ones. Funnily enough, it actually got to 300,000 views, which was stunning for me at the time, before it got claimed and it got blocked, and I had to re-upload the video slightly differently. And then I was afraid that it wouldn't do well, and it did. It did well again. So I'm going to put this one in A tier, actually. On writing hard magic systems. This is one of those videos where it's foundational to the channel. It was my first educational video, and I remember telling my girlfriend, I was like, this is going to get 10,000 views. It is not going to do well. I know it's a waste of time, but I've had a good period. I'm going to try something new. And I was stoked when it got hundreds of thousands of views within the space of a few days. And that brought my whole channel into a new era, and more importantly, I was suddenly feeling like I was doing something good. You know, like I wasn't just talking about nerdy stuff that would be eventually forgotten, that it doesn't really change people's lives. Education is a really important part of my channel, and I felt like I finally found something that was like really personally meaningful. At the same time, it's a pretty cheesy video. And again, guess what it starts with?
Hey Sub-Furies, fantasy stories are known for a lot of things.
I hate it.
Contrived prophecies.
So there's the cheesiness, and then there's the foundationalness, which puts it strictly middle of the road. But because it is so important and it has brought so many people to the channel, I'm gonna be generous towards it and put it in A tier. Is glass bending possible? It's strictly middle of the road. We're gonna put that in B tier. Let's go with Iroh and the spirit world. You cannot fathom how much I hate this video. It is my most popular theory video I ever made. And it is terrible. It is not something that someone who is in any way coherently minded, that is sapient, that has any degree of ability to reason, to look at the evidence and facts, and draw reasonable conclusions from, to understand reality in any sort of grounded way, that any person who has any sort of connection with reality would believe or would make. And yet, it is my video, and I am that person. This theory falls apart at the slightest scrutiny. It falls apart if you look at even the mildest cursory evidence beyond what I show in the video. It is based on purely circumstantial speculation at best, and clearly was not intended, and has so many holes that you could not fill water with it. That one fell apart, but you know what I'm saying. It's always been a big question, how did Iroh get into the spirit world? And come on, the obvious answer is he was just so spiritual that he ascended, basically. He reached nirvana of some kind, and that is the simplest, clearest, best explanation, but I was like, no, I've got to come up with a better idea. And I was like, he's half spirit because he has part of a spirit inside of him, and it's a spirit fox, and it just doesn't make any sense. And I know why I did this. I did this because back in the day, at the start of my channel, I stuck to a weekly upload schedule religiously, rigidly. I would not miss an upload, even if that meant uploading a bad video, you know? And what it meant that is, if I was stumped for ideas, if I didn't have time, because, you know, I was writing, filming, and editing, and I had uni and a job at the same time, if I didn't manage to get something together, then I'd usually do something that was just good at grabbing eyes, that I knew people would click on. This is a consequence of that. This is a consequence of me going, everyone wants to know the answer to the question, here's a quickly thrown together theory. So I hate it. I hate it because of the way it came about. I hate it because it's a bad theory. I hate it because it doesn't look good. I hate it because it has, hey, sub-theories at the beginning. And it's made even worse by the fact that less than a month later, I came up with an even better theory, that there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the dragons in the Avatar world are potentially part spiritual or from the spirit world, and he has a clearly distinct connection to the dragon, so if you wanted to go with that, you could do, he's half dragon. So not only did I do a terrible theory, but I did the worst version of a terrible theory that you could make. So, kill it with fire, then kill me. Okay. The Last Airbender is the worst film ever made, here's why. I actually really like this video. It still sticks with me because it was a lot of effort. It was the biggest project I've ever done, but it's definitely paid off in terms of building the channel. And people still find it really funny. It still looks pretty good. But I think the big part of it is that I often get so wrapped up in trying to be deep and meaningful and say something that matters, you know. This was a real release. It was a real time for me to just sort of let loose and be a meme. You know, it's playing on a 10-year-old meme within the Avatar community now, you know, 13-year-old meme, I guess. That, quote, film that Shyamalan made. And as a result, I was just really relaxed. I was having fun. I wasn't too worried about, you know, being concise and making sure everyone gets every little detail that I'm talking about. But people still found it insightful. So, you know what? I'm still really proud of that one. I deserve another rest here. Okay. The why kill the Avatar? That's in a similar boat to the whole on writing hard magic systems video. It was foundational. It was my first video essay. But it was still pretty cheesy. So we're gonna go pretty mixed, and we're just gonna go B. All right. So, what happened to Azula? Now, this is one of those easy videos where I literally just took the comics and summarized them, basically. But I really hate this video, or at least I hated it a lot more until 6 months ago, and I'll explain why. The video is not that insightful, it feels cheap, the discussions aren't that interesting. People obviously watched it, but yeah. No, the real reason that I hated it for a long time was the sponsorship. Now, here's kind of a bit of a darker side to the YouTube sponsorship thing that you guys might not know about. But the thing is, when you're doing this job, you have no idea how much your video is worth to sponsors, to advertisers. TV and film and stuff like that, like radio, they've got rates worked out. They know how much their stuff is worth. There's research that's done, especially in big industries where you've got people who know this sort of thing. When you're starting out, you have no idea how much you should be paid for this sort of thing. And so companies 100% take advantage of that. I have an email up on my screen right now, which is basically saying, you know, we send you a free item and you advertise it on a video for us. Now, strictly speaking, they're trying to rip me off, okay? And when I was really small, I was contacted by this company called Seismic. So if you ever get contacted by Seismic, this is what they're doing, all right? They offer you a certain amount of money and they take a cut. But they don't tell you how much of a cut that they're going to take. And I only found out a lot later on that they took 50% of the money that they were actually offered by the company. 50%, which is radically exploitative. It's awful. And if they did it to me, they're doing it to a million other people. And I know that sort of thing. But because you're so small, you don't want to lose the sponsorship. You don't want to feel like, you know, because it's still a massive amount of money. You know, they offered me, I think, $1,500. And that to me was like a huge amount of money for a sponsorship. My goodness. And I didn't know that I was being ripped off way more than that. But because you don't want to lose that sponsorship, you want to do the best job that you can. And they pressure you to do that. They say, we want you to do a 2-minute integration where you say these specific things, where we approve the video. They want a lot more creative control than they really should be having. You know, the sponsorship should really just be, this is sponsored by them. Hey, here's what they do at the end of the video. But they kind of tricked me into doing an almost 2.5-minute advert at the beginning. And I got a lot of backlash for that from the community. And I hated it the more I looked at it. I tried to be creative with it, but obviously it's still an advert. And for a company that I didn't really understand. And so I intensely regretted that video for a long time. And after a while, I edited that sponsorship out. Now, technically that was breaking contract, but what are they going to do? They're not working with me anymore anyway. And so, yeah, you can't see the sponsorship anymore, but it was there. So I'm gonna put it in the spirit of that and kill it with fire. But because it's removed, it's not kill it with fire, then kill me. The Fire Nation, a study in world building. This is an ongoing series that I've had for years. I think I did the first one like 3 years ago, and then I did the Earth Kingdom 2 years ago, and then I just did the Air Nomads, and people being like, you're gonna finish the series, right? And one person was like, why didn't you do the water tribes? I was just like, I never got around to it. You see, it took like 3 years to do the first 3. Either way, I actually still really like this video. It's not perfect, but I think the discussion's really interesting around the Industrial Revolution and the Fire Nation. So I'm actually going to put it in an A tier. It's not perfect, but it's fine. Same on writing power escalation. I think it's a really good, solid example of an on-writing video, just the style. I try to be kind of funny, a little bit quite accessible, but educational and specific. I think it's got quite a few good examples of that. So, you know, looking at this layout at the moment, you wouldn't believe that, like, you would hate your videos that much, but I suppose putting it in these terms, it's kind of like, you focus, you hyperfixate on the stuff that you hate. You hyperfixate it on the things that you think are really bad representations of your work. I know that I do that. People do tell me I'm a bit of a pessimist or hyperfixation on bad things sometimes. So here's trying. It lets me visualize it. Alright, what happened to Zuko's mother? Now, if I remember rightly, this was my first Avatar video, and I hate it. It is horrifically cheesy. It's let's have a watch.
Hey, people of the present. So, another How to Train Your Dragon video will be coming out in just a few days. But today, we'll be...
Look how young I am. Where's the beard, boy? Where's the beard? Well, at least you got hair. fun fact, back at the very beginning, I didn't have lighting, obviously. Lighting was incredibly expensive. And so I had a window, I think, to my left there, and I had a light up on the ceiling, which I had taped a piece of paper hanging down from between me and the light to diffuse the light. Otherwise it was too harsh and too bright. That's why you can see the light coming in from the side here like that. It was my attempt to create just kind of like soft, natural lighting on zero budget. The video's terrible. It's a horrible summary of what happened. I don't know. I thought that people wanted short videos for some reason. It was just a terrible summary. It did not give the entire full story. It's horrifically cheesy. I think I got a couple of facts wrong at points. And it's just... I would do a way better job of discussing the story now. And there's always that element of it that you look at your stuff and you're not necessarily comparing it to what you could have done at the time. You're looking at what you would do now. And I hate it because it's just so much worse. It has gotten me 1.3 million views. So, thank you. So we're gonna, but I do hate it with a fiery passion. So we're gonna put it in kill it with fire, then kill me. Alright, how Appa died. I do not like this video for the same reason that I don't like the Iroh in the Spirit World video. It was one of those videos where I was running out of time and I didn't know what to do, and I was just like, crap, I don't know, and so I was just like, how Appa died? Okay, how did Appa die? We don't know, we have no data on it, we have no information at all on it. Let's just make something up. And my argument, if I remember rightly, is like, he's kind of like a manatee, and also like a cow, and if you put together and average out their ages, he probably died around the same year that Aang died, and it's just, it doesn't make it, because it's like he could have still died any other time. There's no evidence that Sky Bison's age, last that same amount as the animals they're based on, and he could have died years before or years after anyway. It's just a terrible theory. It was the product of time pressure, but apparently people wanted to watch it for some reason. Thank you if you did. But it's just a representation of like me running out of time and panicking. So we're gonna go kill it with fire, then kill me. Hard versus soft world building. Now, this is a bit of a complicated one because I worked really hard on this video with a friend of mine, Ellie Gordon. She is a kind of a creator and writer and animator, and we'd long been talking about how we were kind of missing the magical fantasy, the unexplainable, the mysterious, the bigger than us fantasy. And a lot of fantasy these days was very grounded and explainable, and it's sort of stripped of its mystery. But we were trying to come up with a theory or a discussion around those types of stories, and we settled on hard versus soft world building, playing on kind of the Brandon Sanderson hard magic, soft magic, and the hard science fiction, soft science fiction. So hard, soft. Blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing: the core thesis is good. The core thesis is something I absolutely stand by. But it is a complicated topic, and I think that I didn't quite articulate some of the nuances of what I was talking about that well. So when I went and wrote this chapter into On Writing and World Building Volume 2, which if you haven't got, you should pick it up, I rewrote it. I rewrote it with a ton more references. You can see all that. You've got Marzipan by Airbender, Norska in the Valley of the Wind, Castle in the Sky, Dark Soul, the Dark Soul series, Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, the Nier series, Nightfall by Isaac Asimov. I rewrote the script and the thesis to, I think, be a bit more well-rounded, to include a bit more of those details. And that detail can be seen in the 4 examples of soft world building. So core thesis, good. the specific examples themselves, I think, needed a bit of work. And so I'm really proud of it because Ellie and I actually introduced a term that is used online now. I've seen it used on Reddit and on Twitter, not really referencing me, but people being like, this is a good example of soft world building. And I really like that. It's something that I'm proud of, to have contributed to the educational discourse in that way. So this is actually an S tier for me personally. It feels like a real achievement. Yeah. All right. Rewriting the Night King. So this is basically one of the few times that I have hopped on a bandwagon. I'm not very good at following trends, very like super famous trends, things when they're happening. Arcane and Squid Game came out at the end of last year, and it wasn't until like now that I put out a video about it. But Game of Thrones ended. Big, huge thing. And everyone had a lot of complicated thoughts. I know I certainly did. And I've always been fascinated with rewrites. I've always loved watching rewrites and trying to figure out, like, oh, would that be better? Would that have worked better? I think Nando V Movies did this quite well with some of the DC films and the Marvel films. He introduced one small change, and it would usually improve the story a lot. And so I watched the final season of Game of Thrones, and I was disappointed in many ways. It did not go the way I thought it would. And not that that's a bad thing, but that it didn't go in a way that I feel answered the questions the narrative actually set up. And so I looked for a way to rewrite that. And I did 2 videos on it. I did one video rewriting the end of The Night King and one video rewriting the end of the series itself. And this video really annoys me because it did really, really well, but of those 2 videos, of the one that... It's definitely the worst one. I don't think this rewrite is particularly strong. I don't think this rewrite is that great. I think it's fine. It's a bit more functional than the episode we got, but it's nothing special. It's nothing spectacular. And if I wrote it, I wouldn't be that proud of it in the first place. It was trying to work with what we had in that one episode, I guess, but I could have done a better job. And I really wish that those views went into the end of the season rewrite, because that, to me, is actually quite solid. It is a way that I feel answers a lot of questions and does it in a really interesting way, in a time-efficient manner with some creative decisions. So, again, it's one of those things where it's like, why did you have to watch this one? Why couldn't you watch the other one? And you get that all the time. If you're a creator, you're gonna find yourself kind of keeping on coming back to that. So I'm gonna put it in B, just because no, you know what, kill it with fire, because I really don't like it that much. How did Legend of Korra get from this level of technology to this? So how is it basically medieval in The Last Airbender, and then industrial 1920s Legend of Korra? This is the iconic example for me of people commenting before they watch the video. I cannot explain how every single day I get more comments of people going, how is it that hard to believe? We went from flight to space in 60 years. You just need to think about the real world. How can you be so dumb? And it's annoying because that is the video. I'm not doubting it. I'm explaining it to other people who were doubting it. And it's like, I know you didn't watch the video. I laid out a timeline for it. So that is frustrating. And sometimes there are just frustrating videos, which it's not because the video is bad, it's because of the response or like the place that it occupies that you come to hate it. But it's not a terrible video, so I'm just going to put it in B. Alright. Soft magic systems are better, and here's why. This is a complicated one, okay? This one's a complicated one. I don't know where it should sit. I really don't. Because the reason I made this video, I've always wanted to talk about soft magic and why I prefer it. That was true. But I had the 2020 charity livestream coming up, and I hadn't promoted it, and I was really worried because no one was going to watch it, no one was going to donate, no one knew it was even happening, and I hadn't had the time to quickly promote it like I had done in the years before. And so I was like, crap, I need a video that's moving, that is popular, and that will push people to the charity live stream. And so I fell back on magic systems is popular. 2, mental illness is moving. 3, the video is the charity live stream is about mental illness. And I was like, great, good. So the problem was, because I was throwing together a video with that intention behind it, that intention really came first. That intention really came before the content of the video. And I knowingly twisted my argument to push towards the charity live stream. And like, yeah, it's for a good cause, but it's still frustrating for me because I didn't actually articulate the argument, I think, as strongly as I could, or in the way that I would necessarily like to expand on it. So you'll probably get another video in the future of me talking about soft magic systems, but like the focus on mental illness and life is strange, I don't think was the strongest take that I could have on it. And again, the soft magic is better kind of comes out in the soft world building videos, and the hard and soft world building, about the strengths of that. It's deeply connected to that theory. So yeah, it's warped by that aim that I had, and that's frustrating. So it's an okay video. I wish I could like put it in between B and Kill It With Fire, but I'm gonna put it at Kill It With Fire because even though I like the sentiment, I'm frustrated by the fact that I weakened my own argument to do something, and that's annoying. Last video. The philosophy of Uncle Iroh. I could have done a way better job on this. It's just the reality. It's a fine video, but focusing on masculinity in the way that I did, I feel like it's a lot bigger than that. I feel like his ideas are a lot bigger than that, and I think it was a solid argument for the most part. But I wish that I expanded on it, and I wish that I didn't sort of use the philosophy of Uncle Iroh so flippantly in there. It's a good video. It's functional. It's fine, but it's one of those ones with so many little things that I wish I kind of expanded on, that I wish I added in, that it feels incomplete now looking back at it. And I wish I got that. I kind of regret that. A lot of these videos, it all comes down to I wish I did it differently, you know? And so it's not terrible, so I'm going to put it in B. So this was a lot of my videos, all right? This was a lot of my most popular videos. And looking at it like this, and relatively even spread, slightly weighted towards the bottom, it kind of makes me realize, maybe my videos aren't all terrible. Which is a good thing for me to keep in mind because, as I said, I'm known for being a bit negative about my work. I tend to focus on the things that are bad, the things that need to be fixed, rather than the things that are going well. So that's something I need to work on. And looking at this, that's good. I can look at this stuff and I can go, you know what? I've done well. I've done well. It's easy to get caught up in like wishing that your best projects, like my video on mental illness, are your most popular projects. But at the same time, these videos, I am proud of many of these. Like, a lot of these I feel I have contributed something real to the world. Even though there are also ones where I feel I've contributed something bad to the world as well. Well, this was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Do you think I'm wrong about my own videos? Probably, because I don't know how to judge my own work anymore. Anyway, stay nerdy, and I'll see you in the future.